I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, the place where you come to get motivation, inspiration, uplifting, and some positive words. I'm your host, DJ, and today's episode is something that I know I've talked about thousands of times, but I don't think I've ever really just kind of dedicated an episode to, and that's the importance of communication. And the reason why I'm talking about it now is because just over the past couple of days, literally all this week, I've been talking to people and we've been going back and forth about different types of scenarios. And what I've realized is that most of these scenarios is just really a lack of communication. And so I'm the type of friend when I'm comfortable, I'm comfortable. Like if I'm in bed and I'm comfortable and I'm good, I don't want to get out of bed. I want to, you know what I'm saying, enjoy my night, watching TV, playing the game, whatever it is that I'm doing, I just want to be able to do it. But I'm that type of friend. If you ask me to do something because you need help, whatever it is, I'll do it. I may not want to because I may be enjoying the comfort, but because you asked and you need somebody to be there for you, and I understand the importance of having people there for you because you know what I'm saying, the times when I've needed somebody and I've just had to ask, I've been blessed enough to have people who come through for me. They may have not wanted to, it may have been, 3 in the morning or something like that, or I may have needed a ride somewhere and they may have been, just getting ready to go to sleep because they just got off work, whatever the case may be, but they came out and helped me because I asked. And so that's the thing about me. No, I may not always want to do it, but I will do it. You know what I'm saying? Because you need help. I'm the friend. Just ask. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to, I know, because I know I've talked about this before. I don't do well with picking up on cues and, you know what I'm saying? You trying to throw hints. Just ask if you need a ride to work. I don't have a problem with it. Just ask, you know what I'm saying? Like my friends know, like, I got a pattern, they call me, some of my friends call me old man, a grandpa, because you know what I'm saying? I have a schedule. I have, I like to, like, I pretty much go to work, come home, you know what I'm saying? I might go get me some groceries or something to eat, some stuff like that. But for the most part, my days look pretty similar. And so they know, oh goodness, I'm gonna ask him to get off schedule. But yes, you are about to ask me to get off schedule, but I don't mind doing that, if you need help. My thing is just ask. But you have those I know I have those friends who don't want to ask, they just want me to assume, hey, this I don't want to say assume, but they just want me to be like, hey, you need a ride, hey, you need me to do this for you. Da-da-da-da. And again, that's just not me. I don't mind if you ask, and I'm going. If I can help, I will help. But my thing is just ask for the help. But instead of asking, they'll wait for me to offer, and if I don't offer, then they get mad at me, and now I'm labeled not a good friend. But my thing is, if I need help, I'm going to ask for the help. Like if I need it bad enough to where I'm going to miss out on work, or I'm going to miss out on opportunity because my car isn't working, and I need someone to take me somewhere, I'm going to ask as many people as I can, hey, is there any way that you can take me? I'll pay for gas. You know what I'm saying? I'll make sure that I'm trying to compensate you in some type of way for the help that you're giving me. But I am going to ask for the help because I understand a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So I think that for me, that's one of the frustrating things is when someone gets mad at me for not offering help, but it's like you're the one who needs the help. Just ask. You know what I'm saying? But I can see both sides of it. So it's not like I'm saying I can't understand why, you know what I'm saying, they're mad. But my thing is, instead of getting mad, just ask for whatever it is that you need, whether that's a ride, whether that's a couple of dollars, whatever it is, just ask. And if I can provide it, again, if you're my friend, you know that I will provide it if I have it to provide. Excuse me. And but that goes back to communication. We got to learn how to communicate. And then in another scenario, I was talking to a few of my homegirls, and they were talking about, well, are you the type of dude, like when you're walking with your lady, do you hold her hand? And I'm going to be honest, like, whole hand holding isn't really my thing. But if my lady were to communicate with me that that's something that she likes or that's something that's important to her, then I would make an effort to try. But I'm going to be honest with you, since that's not something that I inherently or innately do, then yeah, you're going to have to reach for my hand and do this and do that a couple of times until I catch on, until I get it. This is just me being honest, you know what I'm saying? And if that's too much work, then okay, cool. Then it's just too much work. But my thing is, if it means that much to you, then you know what I'm saying. Then you know what I'm saying. You got to let me know. You got to kind of reiterate it, and don't get frustrated with me when I don't always or automatically do it. Because again, if that's not something that I do, then you just got to remind me. That doesn't mean that I don't care about you. That doesn't mean that I don't love you or that I'm not trying to get to know you or whatever. It just means that something that's important to you isn't really something that's important to me, or something that I don't think about communicated with me. So, because what I was saying to them was, okay, if she does reach out for my hand one time and we walk, you know what I'm saying, she isn't communicating anything to me. Only thing I know from this one scenario, and this is just me, I'm putting myself in this situation. There may be other dudes who think differently, but in this scenario, I just think, okay, she wants to hold my hand this time. Cool. I'm gonna hold her hand. We're gonna walk. Cool. That doesn't mean that now I know, okay, holding hands is important to her. I don't know that if she doesn't communicate that with me. You know what I'm saying? Because there may be times when we get out the car or we're walking, she's in her phone, I'm in mine. Nobody's saying nothing to anyone. You know what I'm saying? We're just walking, you know. So I don't know in these moments that holding hands is important unless we communicate and we talk. And so one of my homegirls was saying, "Hey," and I know that she was joking because we like to get a we like to do that back and forth banter. So I knew that she was joking and I knew that she wasn't serious. But I know that there are people who think like this, or men and women who think like this. So her thing was, well, no, if you love her and you care about her, then you should know off of that one time that she reaches for your hand that how important it is to her. And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm honestly just sitting back trying to digest everything that she's saying about what's going on about the scenario, because I had to really just kind of step back, genuinely put myself in that situation and say, okay, if my lady reaches her hand out for my hand and we walk, am I going to genuinely, this is me being honest with myself, am I going to genuinely know how important holding hands is with her? I'm not. The only thing that I'm going to think is, oh, she wanted to hold hands today, or she wanted to hold hands in this moment. The only way I'll know non-verbally now, without her communicating with me verbally how important it is to her, is if she does it several times. Like literally every time we get out the car, you know what I'm saying? She's reaching for my hand, constantly reaching for my hand. Then I'll get, okay, this is important to her. Us walking together, us holding hands is very important to her. That's the only way I'm personally going to see how important it is to her without her communicating it with me, is if I see her or if I notice her constantly doing it. You know what I'm saying? Then it's like, but even then, I'm going to grab her hand and I'm gonna look and I'm gonna be like, holding hands is really big for you, huh? That's something that you really enjoy. And then we'll have the conversation. So we're still going to have the conversation. But for me, it would just be to confirm what I'm starting to see. But if she only does it once and then she doesn't reach out for my hand anymore, then for me, it's just she wanted to hold hands in that moment. It's not, oh, wow, holding hands is super important for her. So to me, that's why it's important to have communication in my mind, so that you can that way you communicate with me what's important to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of and importance of communication. But for some people, and like I said, I don't think that my homegirl is one of these people. I just think that she was doing it to get a back and forth going, because we do that with each other. But there are people who would take that scenario and really think, oh, my man don't love me, or oh, my man doesn't care about me, or oh, he really isn't taking the time to get to know me. And my thing is, communicate with each other. Like, and I get it. I get that there are some cues that you can pick up, or there are some nonverbal things not there are nonverbal ways to communicate, but I feel like the best way to communicate and to make sure that your point is getting across is to communicate, is to actually talk to each other, is to actually sit down and converse about these things, what you like, what you don't like, what turns you on, what turns you off, what annoys you, what were things in your past that you dealt with, and you know what I'm saying, it burnt you out to where you just absolutely not going to deal with it anymore. I feel like these are all fair things that need to be talked about. So you know what lines not to cross. So you know where you should and shouldn't step. What's going to be a landmine. What subjects should be off limits, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So when you start to, and that to me, that's how I help to, or at least for me, that's how I help myself to start to learn people, is because I want to talk to people. I want to get to know people. I like to communicate with people. So that way, when I start to see things, I can see them for what they really are. I can see, okay, this person's starting to go into their shell. Okay, something around this person is making them uncomfortable. Now I can start to catch things. So me, communication helps me with my nonverbal stuff. It helps me to peep out things when I'm able to sit down and talk with someone and have communication. And I'm able to communicate with someone about what's going on or where they are in life. It just helps me to now understand them better. So now, when I see things happening, I can be like, okay, this is going on, that's going on. Whereas before we communicate and before we have a talk, I'm just gonna be like, I might still see it, but it's not going to register with me what's going on because I haven't communicated with them about what's going on. So for me, especially now, as I'm starting to grow and as I'm starting to finally starting to learn from my past, finally starting to get those lessons that I should have been learned, but hard headed, so I had to keep bumping my head. But now, as I'm finally starting to get these lessons and I'm finally starting to understand, and now I'm starting to go through new things and I'm starting to grow and get better, I'm starting to realize how important communicating is. And so that's why for me, I know that the people that I have around me, we have to be able to communicate and communicate like adults. You know what I'm saying? We can't just be always my way or the highway or because I said so. You know what I'm saying? We really got to be able to communicate as adults, be able to disagree. You know what I'm saying? As adults, be able to understand that not everybody's going to accept my way. Not everybody's going to like my way or my way of thinking. And I also have to understand that, I'm not going to always be right. There are going to be times when I say things and they're going to be completely off the mark, wrong, whatever. And I have to be okay with that. And I have to be okay with them calling me out on it, which I would be, or yeah, which I would be, and I'm getting better at it because I wasn't always the best at it. And I'm not saying I'm the best at it now, but I am better than where I was, but I still have growing to do. But I do understand that there are going to be times when I say things because of where I am in life or what I've been through in life and my perspective. And somebody's going to be able to say, well, no, that's wrong. That ain't the way to go about it. And I can tell you, like, the perfect example of that was like when people would hurt me, my first instinct would have been to hurt you back. And I didn't mind telling people that because that was just who I was at the time. And there's still some of that in me. I'm not going to sit here and act like if somebody would hurt me, there's no bone in my body that doesn't want revenge. You know what I'm saying? I would be lying to you. Of course, there's a bone in my body that would want revenge, but my understanding now tells me that me going out getting revenge isn't going to do nothing but bring more, you know what I'm saying, things back my way. You know what I'm saying? Because once I go out and get revenge, there's going to be not just the person I go and get revenge on, but it might affect somebody around them. And now all of their anger is coming back towards me. So I know the only thing that's going to do, only thing that revenge is going to do is create a cycle of get back. And I understand that now. And so now that I understand it, and now my understanding is at a certain level, I can remove myself from situations. I can remove myself out that cycle of get back because I'm starting to elevate my levels of understanding. And once I started to elevate my levels of understanding, as the saying goes, when you understand more, when you understand better, when you know better, I'm sorry, when you know better, you do better. So once you start to understand things, you start to realize, okay, I need to start moving in a different way to get a different result. I can't keep doing the same thing and going around in this same racetrack and expecting a different result. So as I've started to understand this cycle of revenge and what it comes with, I've now been able to take a step back, or in my case, take a step forward and get out of that cycle of revenge. Because, and again, like I said, I'm not saying it like it's not on my mind or I don't think about it, but I don't just react. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking the time, especially when I'm angry, I'm taking the time to really think about, is this text worth it? Is this tweet, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Even though I'm not on Twitter, but you know what I'm saying? Just this post, whatever it is that I'm thinking about doing, is it worth it? So, that's a big thing for me is, what I'm saying? The fact that I am taking that time, taking those few seconds to really ask myself before I hit send, is it worth it? Is it really going to make my life better? Is it really going to change a situation? And most of the time, damn near all the time, it's no. It's not going to change. It's not going to make this better. It's not going to affect me in a positive way. It might make me feel better in that moment for those brief, quick minutes. And then I'm going to feel the effects of it, because now, like I said, because it might just not affect the person that I'm trying to get revenge on. It might affect someone around them. And now they're coming at me, and it's just like, it's not worth it anymore for me, because I have nothing to prove to anyone. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to prove that I'm a badass. I don't need to prove that I'm tough and I'm a gangster and don't play with me and all. That's not, I don't have to play those games, and I don't have to prove those things. You know what I'm saying? I'm secure with me, and that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? You leave me alone, I leave you alone. You don't bother me, I don't bother you. I stay out of your way, you stay out of mine. I'm just trying to live my life, do my thing, do what I'm supposed to do, and come home. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's that overall. That's just my thing. I'm just trying to stay in my bubble, stay in my lane, enjoy my life, enjoy the people that are in my life, and you know what I'm saying, and just let everything else be on the outside. Let the outside noise stay on the outside. I'm not trying to bother anybody. I'm just trying to enjoy, you know, what I'm doing right now. And that's where my focus is. My focus is just on growing, getting better, and doing my best to continue becoming better, and continuing to grow and evolve and elevate my understanding, elevate my thinking, elevate, just me in general. And that way, hopefully, I'm elevating the people around me as well on my journey. But But yeah, so back to, the importance of communicating, because I think that communicating solves would solve so many problems before they even become problems if we took the time to actually communicate. And when I say communicate, I really do mean communicate, and communicate as adults, meaning no matter what I'm thinking, no matter what I feel is right, when I go into this talk or this time to communicate with someone, I should have an open mind to hear them. I shouldn't be listening to respond. I should just be listening to absorb what they're saying, because they could be saying some things that I actually agree with. But if I already have it in my mind that I'm right and my way is right, I'm not going to take the time to absorb what they're saying, because the moment they say something I disagree with, it's like, but you know what I'm saying? And now I'm interrupting their thought, and I'm not getting a full picture, a complete picture of their way of thinking, because I seen a podcast, a clip of a podcast, and I need to start remembering these names. I need to start writing them down to give them their credit. But it was a woman saying, I'm listening on defense, and then don't quote, I know that that's around what she's saying, but I don't know her exact words. But she was just like, I'm listening on defense, or I'm defensively listening, or something like that. And it's like, yeah, I remember when I did that. And again, I'm not going to say and act like I don't still do it, but I don't do it as much as I used to. But I do remember how when I would talk to people, in the moment they would say something that I disagree with, I'm yeah, but yeah, you know what I'm saying, and I'm not allowing them to give their complete thought because they may start in one place and they may end up at the same conclusion that I ended up with, but you know what I'm saying, just taking a different route and giving me a different perspective on things, or opening or shedding light on something that I may not know something about. I may have a perspective on something and I don't know the whole story. You know what I'm saying? And so it's made me realize that when as soon as she said it, it resonated with me because that's what I do. That's what I don't do it as much, but I do still do it, listening defense, because the moment something happens, it triggers something in me because of something in my past, some unhealed issue that I have in my past. And the moment I hear certain things, it just triggers me. And now I'm on defense. And it's like, no, you can't do that because you're not genuinely hearing them. You're not getting the message that you're not receiving the message that they're trying to give you because you're too busy trying to poke holes in everything that they're saying because it triggered something in you. Now you're playing defense when you should just be sitting there neutral and just listening to what they have to say because they could be making very valid points and they could be making very reasonable points. But because something's triggered in you because of unresolved issues from your past, now you don't even hear them anymore. You're literally just waiting for them to stop talking or to give you enough of a gap to where you can stick your 2 cents in. And as someone who's been on the receiving end of that, it's very annoying. So I have been trying to not interrupt people. The interrupting is the part that's annoying. So I've been doing my best to not interrupt people when they talk. I would like for them to get their complete message out, whatever it is they saying, so that way, you know what I'm saying, I can try to absorb it, because sometimes they'll say something and my response has something to do, but then they talk about whatever it is I was getting ready to respond to. Something, it's like, okay, ain't no need for me to respond, let them continue, you know what I'm saying? And that's happened to me. And so once I've started to realize that, you don't have to instantly respond to everything that someone says, like let them get their point across, because they might touch on whatever it is that you wanted to say, and now there's no need for a response or a retort from me because they touched on this or they talked about that. So I'm doing better with learning how not to listen on defense. But I know the main thing that's going to help that is healing from whatever it is that triggers me when I listen and then I get defensive. There's something that's said that triggers me, so I'm doing my best to start healing from my past, so that way things won't trigger me the way that they do now. And that way I can just genuinely listen to someone and I'm not listening on defense, trying to defend something that they may not even be talking about, because I might be thinking about whatever happened in the past and it sounds so similar that like now I'm triggered and we talking about something totally different. And now I'm on defense about something that I shouldn't even be defensive about, because it may not even be about me. It may be about something totally different. But because I haven't healed, now I'm listening on defense. And yeah, when I tell you I resonated with that clip, because that's me, you know what I'm saying? Again, I'm at a point now where I can look at the things that I do and I can call myself out on it. So that's definitely one of the things that I do, and one of the things that I'm learning how to stop. But like I said, the best thing I can do is heal from the things, so that way it no longer triggers me. So there's no longer a need to get defensive. I can actually be like, man, I remember when that would have triggered me. I can be like, I remember when that would have bothered me, and I would have started to tune you out because I just want to defend this point that you just made, or defend against this point that you just made, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with me. But you know what I'm saying? But even in catching myself, or even in realizing I see the growth. I understand that there's growth in everything. I understand that there's growth in just realizing that you have a problem, or seeing that in yourself, or realizing in real time when you're doing it, there's growth in all of these little things. You know what I'm saying? Growth isn't just healing from it and genuinely being able to let it go. Of course, that is growth, but growth is also being able to recognize things. You know what I'm saying? And I know I said in the video before, we got to celebrate and acknowledge the little things. So even if it's something as little as, you know what, I do have a problem, or yeah, I do that, that's growth. That in itself, you realizing those things about yourself is growth. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how small you think it is, how minute you think it is, it's still a step in the right direction. And we got to acknowledge, and maybe celebrate isn't the right word, but at least acknowledge the fact that there's growth in acknowledging and recognizing things about yourself that you know you need to heal from, and things about yourself that you know you need to start working to repair and to heal and to fix, because you understand that that type of behavior is also leading you down negative paths and leading you down roads, and it's putting you in positions to where you can't be as successful as you need to be, because there's certain things that you do that you know you shouldn't do, and it's rubbing people the wrong way, or it's making people turn their backs on you, or it makes it hard for people to be there for you the way you want them to be, because you're not allowing them to be there because of whatever it is that you're doing. So there is growth in those small things, even just acknowledging those things. It's growth in that, you know what I'm saying? Because now you know there's at least one area in your life where you need to attack that, and you need to start to heal from that and heal that wound, so that way you can start to let that behavior go. You know what I'm saying? So, again, I won't say celebrate, but that, you can at least acknowledge, wow, I am growing, because I can at least acknowledge, and I can still see, especially when it happens real time, I can catch myself and stop myself from going any further when I can see, okay, I know that this is the thing that I do. And I know when I do this thing, it rubs people the wrong way. It bothers people. It turns people off. Let me stop doing that. And there's growth in that. And there's beauty in that. And just being able to acknowledge that, because I know we've all heard um, the first step to, and again, I may not be phrasing it right, but the first step to getting over a problem is realizing that you have a problem. And that's real, like, because that's growth. Realizing, genuinely real, not saying it just to say it because other people are saying it, but when you, as the person who's doing it, really realizes, okay, I really have a problem, or this really is an issue. I see it now, and you genuinely see it. There's so much growth in that, and there's so much to be thankful for when you can recognize that that is something to, at the very least, acknowledge and realize you are growing, because it may have been a blind spot for you to not even realize that. And so once you get to a point in life where you can, especially when you can catch it in real time, when you're in the middle of doing it, and you can catch yourself and you be like, I'm doing it again, let me stop. That's growth. That's a beautiful thing. And that's where I am in life. I'm catching myself in real time doing a lot of my negative or bad traits. And so I know that, again, I'm on the right path. I might be taking that path very slowly, one step at a time, a half a step at a time, a quarter step, whatever it is. But I know that I'm at least on the right path and moving in the right direction. So there is movement, and that's what matters to me. But the main thing, so I guess that was a whole nother piece of a message today. You know what I'm saying? Just acknowledge your growth. And you know what I'm saying? If you the type that you need to celebrate it, celebrate your growth, celebrate those small things, because those small things do add up to big things. But even like I said, the smallest things is just acknowledging that you have an issue, and being able to catch it real time is something to, whether you celebrate it or just the fact that you can acknowledge it, that's something worth acknowledging, is, what I'm saying, the fact that you are growing. But communication is so important. And I'm starting to realize that so many small issues in my relationships, whether it's like my romantic relationships or my friendships, partnerships, co-workers, whatever, there are so many things that I've fallen out with people about, that a simple conversation, a simple adult conversation could have helped. But the problem with that is it's too understanding adults have to be able to communicate. You can't be an understanding adult and try to communicate with someone who just wants it their way and only wants to hear what they want to hear. You can't have real communication that way. So when I say that it could have a simple communication would have helped a lot of things, a lot of relationships and a lot of bonds that were broken in my life. What I realized is I wasn't at the level of understanding, and neither was the other person most of the time. But there was times when I was with the person of understanding, but I just wasn't at that level. So a simple communication wouldn't have worked again unless we were both on the level we needed to be on. But and this is the thing that I'm learning now is because I understand, or at least I have a better understanding of how to talk with someone and how to converse with someone. It's making me realize that there are people in my life and people around me who don't have that level of communication or that level of understanding of how to communicate with someone properly. And what I'm starting to realize is that I just don't want those people around me because I want to be able to communicate with you. I want to be able to genuinely have a conversation with you. I want to be able to genuinely talk to you, express myself, and you know what I'm saying? And there are people who just can't do that and don't know how to do that, who don't have the understanding, and they're feeling attacked. They feel like me coming to them telling them something isn't a personal attack on them, and I'm not getting frustrated by it because that used to be me, and I see that in the way I used to communicate, the way I used to get offensive, the way I used to get defensive when I would hear certain triggers. So I completely understand where they are, but it's just making me realize, okay, they're not understanding. Our level of understanding about certain areas in life are just different. So I can't communicate with you the way I need to get whatever point I'm trying to get across. And it's just making me realize that I need to start, I need to have I need to reevaluate the people around me because their level of communicate, their level of understanding when it comes to communicating. I need to reevaluate the people that I choose to have around me because some people don't need to be around me because their levels of understanding when it comes to communication isn't where it needs to be. So I can't have those type of conversations that I need to have with the people around me. I can't have it with them because they're not there, and it's not their fault because again, just a few months ago I was right where they were. So I'm never going to blame them for that, but I will bring it up. I will talk about it, and you know what I'm saying? I at some point I would hope that you hear me and that we can start to, as you start to understand better, you start to do better. But if I see that you're not even trying to understand better, therefore you're not trying to do better, I have to be willing to say, okay, this is just the life that you want to lead, and I have to let you live it and go do your thing. But you know what I'm saying? The overall lesson of the day is communicate. Just communicate with people. And even when you start to, because even if you can't communicate with somebody, there's always a lesson in every single interaction you have with somebody, whether that interaction is okay, we've communicated about this, you know where I stand, I know where you stand, we can respect each other on a whole new level because we talked about things. Or it could be, wow, your level of understanding isn't where mine is. Okay, we probably don't even need to interact with each other because even when something happens, I can't communicate with you in a healthy way. We can't have a healthy communication. We can't have a healthy conversation because your understanding of how to communicate isn't even where it needs to be to have a healthy conversation. Like that's something else that I understood real quick. Is just with that, to have a healthy conversation, to have a healthy level of conversation takes a certain level of understanding. And if you don't have that certain level, we can't have healthy communication because all communication isn't the same. You can have toxic communication and you can have healthy communication. And in order to have that healthy communication, understanding has to be at a certain level. And I think that that's probably the biggest lesson that I've learned over these past couple of months is that it takes a certain level of understanding to communicate to communicate at a healthy level, and what healthy communication sounds like, looks like, feels like. And so again, man, just get your understanding where it needs to be so that way you can communicate with people in a healthy, respectful manner. But that's my talk for today. That's my rant for today. I want to just thank everybody for listening on whatever platforms you're listening to the podcast. I appreciate every single download, every single listen, and leave a comment letting me know what you think about the podcast. And to everyone watching me on YouTube, again, thank you so much. I'm blessed to be where I am. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm a lot further than where I used to be. So I am blessed and I'm thankful. So to everybody watching on YouTube, I thank you. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. And y'all have a blessed day.